Hello, hello, hello. Mic test, mic test, mic test. Just checking a couple of things and then I'll get started right away. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thank you for the my third, well, technically it's my third, but to the second live stream. Welcome. I know it's Friday. It's Friday night, but I appreciate you showing up. I have an agenda here that I'll get to in a second. Yeah, so the way this will pretty much run. Oh, excuse me for a second. Okay, think I got that going. Fixed. Okay, check my chat. Okay, I think I got the sound fixed. Sorry if you are hearing an echo. So last time I used the Yeti, I'm trying to use this. That way I'm not talking to the mic that way. Yeah, so again, this is the, and drop a message in the chat anytime you want to, guys. So this is my second live stream. The channel just crossed 200 subscribers recently, and I'm very excited about that. This channel, if you're just joining me, this channel is targeted for Linux system administrators. I do have about over a decade experience administering Linux, and the reason why I created this channel was to just share the experiences that I've gained to you guys. So the more you guys comment on the videos, the more feedback I get, the better I can tailor the videos and make better quality, more valuable information, more valuable videos for you guys. So the more y'all comment, the more feedback I get, the better. That's always great. Oh, and I do have a Quora. No, excuse me. I do. I have a subreddit that I created for this YouTube channel. It's going to be. It's in the text, the description. So there's a link there. And that's pretty much the announcements. The 200 subscriber milestone. Again, thank you. And the Quora page. Sorry, the subreddit page that I created a few weeks ago for the YouTube channel. Uh, I'm going to try to post more there. The intent of the subreddit is to try to be more engaged with you guys. I thought about doing a Discord, but I wouldn't be able to dedicate enough time because I do have a full-time job. So the subreddit seemed to be a good compromise to where I can be as responsive as I can that platform supports. So basically what I'm saying is, if you can, I appreciate some engagement on the subreddit because again that helps feed my creative side, and I'll know what better videos to make for y'all and what questions y'all have. I can make better videos the more feedback you guys give. Okay, so enough of that. Okay, so now I'm going to get to the Quora questions. And let's see. Okay, so the first question is, I think I have it saved over here. No, that's the first one. Okay, so the first Quora question is, it looks good. It says, what is the output of the wget command in Linux? Okay, so the first thing is anytime you're not sure how to use a Linux command, the first thing I always go to is there a man page? So you type in man, and then you type the command. So you type wget. and there's a man page for it. And you have a name, description, synopsis, or this is more of a short description, the basic high-level syntax, and the description also includes anything and everything on how to use the command. Whoops. Okay, so it tells you here how to use it. So we got the name of the command and a URL. So we'll exit that. So we'll just follow the syntax. wget and a URL. And I actually have an example page, which is actually my repository in GitHub. So we'll just click on anything here. And here's a URL that we can use to test. So we'll copy that, paste that, and hit enter. There you go. It worked. Pretty basic. Okay, now if you go back into the man page, a couple of things. So when you open a man page, it loads it into what's called a pager. So this pager, this information down here, it's a good color to use. Is that good? Let's make it big. That's too big. I'll just use this. Okay, so the pager tells you some information down here. So this is all given to you by the pager. And what is the pager? One way you can find out is if you type the letter H. So we type the letter H, and it reveals to us that it is the less command. That's what the pager is. The pager is the less command. So if you want to know how to use the pager, you can scroll down here. Okay, so you got information like how to exit the help page, which is Q, or few, but Q. And H takes you back. Then it shows you how to move. Shows you how to search, which is one I'll demonstrate. And let's see, you can set markers. You can edit different files without having to leave less, which is good. And so on. And then options. So I'll show a few of these options in a minute too. But this is everything you can do. You can ignore case when you're searching. You can, let's see, what else can you do? You can do a lot. Another one that I use sometimes is you can set the line numbers, show the line numbers. You can chop lines, which is pretty good. It has to do with line wrapping, basically. Some of these we won't use with the man page, but you can. Q to go back. So if you want to enable the line numbers according to the help, you do dash uppercase N, hit enter, and now you got line numbers. If you want to toggle it off, do the same thing, dash uppercase N. But one that I use a lot is searching. So you do // and then you put in your regular expression. So you can do, we'll do URL. So I found the first match. Lowercase n takes you forward. And uppercase N takes you back. I mean, you can do a lot more, but that's basically what I do is open a man page. If I know a keyword that will help me find what I'm looking for, I'll just do a regular expression, which technically it's a regular expression, but it's a very basic string. So we could also look for, if you go down, say we're reading the man page and we see a -d. Well, what does that do? You can do /-d, and eventually you'll get to the option. Excuse me. So that's a quick way of answering those types of questions. So yeah, just circling back to the original question. You do man the command. If it shows up, you can, it'll give you over high level syntax. And if you want more information, you can just search for it. So I hope that answered that question. Okay. Gonna get this next question ready for y'all. Okay, so the next question is, how do you create a sudo user in CentOS Linux? Now, as a matter of fact, I actually have a video a few weeks ago that I created that does just that. So I'll make sure to put that in the notes after this. Link to sudo video. But the high level steps is you create a new user. And then the second step is you put them in the wheel group. I don't think really there's a third step. But that's it. That's usually the two main steps is you create the user and you put him in a wheel group. And that's pretty much the standardized process. You can create any wheel group you want, or you can create any group instead of the wheel group. But those are the main steps. You create the user, put him in the wheel group. Then once you sudo, so what that does then is with the user, you sudo, it'll prompt you for a password. Put in your password, and then it'll run that command, elevate it. Okay, let's see. If anybody's out there, go ahead and drop a hi, number one, anything. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. So next question is, let me get it ready real quick. Okay. So next question is, what is the main function of the grep command? Okay. Now, knowing what we know now, can quickly answer that question. Okay, so we do man, we do grep. So now the man page is telling us we have different ways of calling that command. So that's interesting. So I'm going to pretend that I'm brand new to this command. So we have a few ways of calling the command. Interesting. We have different syntax sets, as I call them. You have grep option pattern file, grep option -e patterns. Okay, interesting. File, and so on. So what is the -e? What does that do? Let me back up. What is patterns? So we'll do /patterns. So we're actually going to try to figure out what that means. So we got our search at the bottom. Hit enter. Oh, excuse me. Enter. Okay, so we got grep searches for patterns in each file. Patterns is one or more patterns separated by new line characters. So you can get, it tells you what a pattern is. So the good thing about these man pages, once you read enough of them, is they're pretty good about referencing terms and then defining those terms. So for example here, like patterns, say I was brand new, I didn't know what patterns was, I can search for that string within the man page to quickly figure out how do they define pattern? What is a pattern? Same thing with, oh, and lowercase g takes you to the top. So it says patterns, so I can quickly figure out what that means. Then it also references this word, file. What does that mean? Do /file, and then I can quickly figure out, it says here, a file of dash stands for standard output, standard input. No file is given, recursive searches examine the working directory, and so on. So you can quickly figure out what file means. Then here are all the options. Spacebar pages forward. And all the information you need is pretty much in the man page. Okay. Now, there are a couple ways we can use this. So I actually have some files here that I'll demonstrate. So one common way that I use it is basically what the synopsis tells you, is you do grep, we'll do a pattern, let's say user, and then we're going to go into grep all the files in the current directory. So asterisk, this goes into globbing, if you've ever heard that term, is it'll match all the files in the directory and folders, as a matter of fact. So we'll hit enter, and here we go. So it'll tell us the file name. Excuse me, I have something in my eye. Sorry about that. So it'll tell us the file, and it'll tell us the line that it matched by default. Here we got file name, line. File name, line. Now, you can do some extra things too. Back to the man page. If you search for, we'll say, number, -in is line number. So you have two ways of specifying. -in or --line -number. Prefix each line of output with the one baseline number within its input file. So if we add that option, okay, so notice it's file name, matched line, file name, matched line. Then we'll add a -in. and see how it changes. Now we got file name, the line number that match appears at, and then the line itself. So it added an extra field to the output. Okay, so if we go back to the man page, then we search for file. There's one thing I want to show. Okay, so uppercase H will print the file name of each match, which it automatically does when you search multiple files. If you search one file, it actually doesn't do that. But by default, if you search multiple files, again, which is what the asterisk did, it'll automatically print the file name. If we want to suppress that, we would actually use lowercase h for no file name. If we come back out, then we add a -h, hit enter. Now we have just the line number and the line that it matched. And say you can't remember what switch that was for. If you know the keyword that it's next to, again, you just do file, I think it was file name. There you go. Second result. Took us right to it. So that searching, that regular expression searching will save you a ton of time. Because what I used to do is say, okay, what was the switch? So I'd go back into man grep, and then I would go down every line and read and read and read and read and say, where was it? Somewhere. Nope, not anymore. Now you just go in there, search for file name, and there you go. You can quickly find the switches that you need. Oh, got a comment. Been using Linux for 5 years. I have one computer on Debian 12, another on LMDE 6. Also have bootable Debian external SSDs with GNOME and wow, you're a real Linux guy. I have a Windows machine and a WSL instance. So you're a real Linux guy. Thank you for the comment. Appreciate it. Man, it's nice to hear from you guys. Actually, I also have a virtual box with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9, I believe, which you can get for free. Oh man, that could be its own conversation. But yeah, thank you for your comment, Joseph. Rock on, dude. I appreciate it. 100%. Awesome. Okay, let's see. I'm very new to YouTube Live. Okay, I see the comments right there too. I had to use my phone, but now I can see it. Can I respond to it? I'll just put a... Looking for a thumbs up. As you can tell, I don't live stream very often. So, okay, I'm going to do this just so I can move on. It's the best emoji I could find. No, seriously, thanks again, Joseph. I really appreciate it. Okay, so where was I? What is the main function of the grep command? Okay, so I'll go ahead and move on to the next question. Unless anybody has any follow-ups, I'll make sure to keep up with the chat too. But for now, I'll move on. Okay, so here's another one. Okay, bear with me. Let me load the next question. Okay, so the next question is, how does one create new files in Linux terminal? Okay, so there's a few ways. One way is with the touch command. And what does it do? Well, we can quickly figure that out. Technically, it changed the timestamp of a file, but it also tells you here, I believe it tells you create. Yeah. So it says here, a file argument that does not exist is created empty. So we'll do touch earth. I don't know. There you go. And it did exactly what it said. It created a file that was empty. Another way, my personal recommendation, is to use Vim. So you can type Vim, and then you can type the file name. So we'll do earth2. There you go. You got a new file, and the name of the file is earth. And then the most difficult task ever, exiting. Okay, so let me back up. So when you first, actually I'm going to get into this later, but when you first launch Vim, it actually puts you into what's called normal mode. I always used to call it command mode, but that's more of a nickname. The actual official mode is actually called normal mode. And from there, you can do command line commands, which is with colon, and it puts it at the bottom. You can type. And if you want to ignore what you just did, you can just hit escape, and it'll clear it. That was the bottom left. So on the bottom right, if you do, I believe that's what's also normal mode, is if you hit 10, it echoes that. Oh, let me hide myself real quick. Actually, you know what? Let me move myself. Oop, don't want to do that. Uh-oh. Oh, wait a minute. Yay, I figured it out. Down here. So let me, I was going to get into Vim later, but let me do a quick example. So one thing you can do in Vim, and I've actually doing a lot of research because I'm going to start putting out some more Vim videos in my Vim Primer playlist. But I also have a Tmux series, and in Tmux you can split windows into multiple panes. You can do that in Vim too. So one way to do it is through the command mode, and that is split. So it splits the window. And that was command line mode. So it put them in the bottom left. Command line mode. Command mode is bottom right. So if you want to go to a different window, so the cursor is right here. If you want to go to the bottom window, you do Control W, and it echoes it down here. So this isn't a command line command. This is a command mode or normal mode command. Control W, and then W again, and to move the cursor. So your normal mode, command line commands, bottom left, command mode commands, bottom right. And then I is insert mode, so you can just type. Now the reason why it's doing this is because by default, when you split a window, it actually opens two viewports, they call them viewports, into the same buffer. And the same buffer is just another way of saying the same file. So by default, a split opens two viewports to the same file. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, if you're editing a very long file, you can actually split. You know what? Let me show you an example. Let's see. I mainly do most things using the desktop GUI, but a few tasks using the command line to adapt to a. I assume you mean VM virtual machine, such as CLI. Yes. Yeah. Anybody who is, especially if you're going to get into IT, which is what I do professionally, I highly, like you mentioned here, I highly recommend learning the command line. 1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. But yes, I highly recommend that. If that's what you want to do and that's what you're leaning toward, I'd push you into it. Yes, sir. Let's see. What was I doing? Lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. Splitting the window. So we'll do vim ssh. I think I have it saved. Do I have smb? Tell you what. Oh, if you run the command view, it runs vim. It opens a file in vim as read only. So I'm going to do that to show you the split real quick, and then I'll move on. So here you go. So down here it even tells you read only, read only. Okay, so when we split the window, same file. So you got file here, file here. So we'll go to the next window. So okay, to wrap this up, the reason why you want to split the reason why you would want to split the window and have two viewports on the same file is if you have a very long file and you want to view one section of the file as you edit a section down here, that's a good use case for that. And I'll leave that for I'm going to do a Vim, I guess, crash course in a little bit. So I'll just stop right there because I'm I'm getting sidetracked. Five people watching, but chat is boring. Well, thank you, Joseph. I really appreciate that. Yes, I will move on. Yes, sir. Okay. How do I use multiple options in grep command? Let me go. Okay. So I will try to answer these questions quicker, if that's what you mean. Okay. So this next question is, what does the initial ramfs do in the booting process in rel 8? Okay. So here's where it comes into play. So you boot the operating, so you hit the power button on the computer, and then it goes through post. Then you got BIOS, and you got the UEFI. Then it loads the bootloader, which is called grub. And you probably saw this when you first boot up your Linux box and you have the boot menu. That's what this is, grub. Grub is the boot menu. And it'll list your kernels. And then when you pick the kernel version that you want, the initial ramfs, that is your temporary file system. And that actually gets loaded into RAM. So RAM is where this guy lives, and it's your temporary file system. And it contains your drivers for your disk, network card, so on. So it has just enough drivers and modules to get the grub off the ground. Then once it's off the ground, it then loads your actual disk, or I should say, it mounts your disk as rewrite and then boots everything else up. All the services, everything else. So that's the initial RAM FS, is your temporary file system for grub, for the bootloader. Let me delete that. Okay, excuse me for a minute. Got a message here on the side. Okay, sorry I had to see my forehead. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Okay, let me get this one loaded real quick. Okay, is it necessary that a root user use sudo before any commands, and where must the root use sudo? Is it necessary that the root user use sudo? Okay, so if this means if you already are root, do you have to use sudo? The answer is no. Sudo runs commands as root, so if you already are root, you don't have to run sudo. I mean, technically the command will work, but it's redundant. Okay. All right, going on to the next question. I have a few. Okay, so another question here is, how do you terminate a shell script? Control C. So I don't know if I have, I'm trying to think very quickly. I don't have a shell script available, but Control C. That's how you do it. Okay, another one is, what is the ls-l command? Well, once again, we can do man ls. Quicker way would be to just run it. But if you're not sure what it does, if you're not sure if it's safe, you can do man ls, and it tells you here, list directory contents, and then using our regular expression search again, dash lowercase l, skim down, use a long listing format. So ls-l. There you go. And we got the file name. You've got the permissions, user, group, other. You got file type. I believe these are the number of hard links. You've got user owner, and you've got group owner. So yuppers. Okay. Okay. So this question is, what is a daemon in a server? So a daemon is basically a service that runs in the background and provides services. So an example of a daemon is SSH. SSH is the daemon, is a daemon. I mean, you also have, I put myself on the spot here, but You also have logger, or not logger, but syslog. Syslog is a daemon. Man, I'm drawing a blank right now. I don't have access to a server right now, but that's what a daemon is. SSHD being the most popular one. But I mean, okay, so DNS, you can run DNS on Linux, you can run LDAP, all those are daemons. Run in the background, provide services. Let's see. Anybody who's joining, feel free to say hi. Say what's up. Okay. So I'm going through my questions, more questions I got. How do you keep a command running? Okay. So another question I have is, oops, lost my spot. But the question was, you know what, let me screenshot this for y'all. Okay, here it comes. Here it comes. It says, what is the difference between 1 ampersand and 2 ampersands on the bash shell command line? Okay, so what the single ampersand does is it'll run whatever command you have as a background job. Because normally what will happen is if you run a command just normally, or a script or a program, it'll run and run and run until you exit, and you won't get the prompt back until it finishes. But if you don't need to interact with it, and it just needs to run in the background, you can just add an ampersand. And then you get the prompt back. So you can continue to do work. But then you can also monitor this background job with the jobs command. And it gives you the status right here. And it gives you the job number. And then I want to say jobs, is it -L? Yeah. It'll also give you the PID. And some more information too. And if you want to know more, what do? And jobs. And there's no man page for it. So let's see if we can find a man page for jobs. And the man-k will search, it does a light search of all your man pages. And you know what? I think this is a built-in command. So we actually have to do man bash. And then we search for jobs. See, here we go. Job control. It should come up any second. Oh, here we go. So you have, so BG, well, sorry, got sidetracked. A lot of the built-in commands, if you want to know what they do, you man bash. And we should get there any second. Here we go. Okay. So sometimes if a command doesn't have a man page, it's because it's a built-in shell command and you actually have to go here, as you just saw. So jobs. It'll tell you, what did we run? Yeah. So we ran a -P. And then there's other options which I didn't know. That's why it's always good to learn how to read man pages. It will pay dividends like you won't believe. Oh, and then ampersand, what that does, let's see, that has to do with when you're doing and statements. So if you have an if statement, if you're writing a bash script and you have if statements and you have compound, a bunch of ands, ors mixed in, that's what that's for. I believe, now that I think about it, because I know you can do, you do one command. So I think what it does, I'm starting to doubt myself, but I think what it does is it functions like an AND. So if you have one command here, this says run this command if this command returns successfully. So if you have 5 commands that you need to run one after the other, some people will put semicolons and it'll run this command, this command, this command, this command. So if you have 5, it'll run all 5, regardless of the return code, the status return code. If you use ampersand, it says run this. If it's true, run this. If that's true, then run the next command. If that's true, and so on. So I believe that's what that's for. Okay, let's see. If let's see. Just another comment here. Yeah, if anybody has any follow-up questions or side questions, please put them in the chat and I'll try to get to them. Searches. Yes. Yes. That's a good use case. Thank you. Yes, that is actually one I've used before and I forgot. So we got sudo update. Yes, this is a very good example. So this, and I'll cover this again real quick. Run this. If returns true, run this. Now you could do this, but it's not as intelligent. This says run this, then run this. Period. So just depends on what you need. Is this Python? Hey, welcome to the chat, Chris. No, I'm going over the Linux shell. I'm answering some Quora questions about using the Linux shell. Yes, sir. But again, welcome. You're more than welcome to stay. Hang out. Okay, so another question I have here is from Quora. What is the use of the verbose option in Linux? Okay, I think I can demonstrate this pretty quickly. So most commands have a verbose option. Most of the time it's dash lowercase v. I've seen some commands where it's actually uppercase v, or sometimes it's totally unintuitive. If you're not sure, you can go into the command, and I'm going to use the delete command, and we'll search for verbose, and it's dash v. So we'll delete. So this is without verbose, and this is with verbose. That's it. Some commands, verbose just means a little bit more information. There's one command, I'm trying to think. The SSH command. If you go into the SSH command, and this is the client command, and you do verbose. Okay, so SSH uses the dash v also for verbose, but it also says multiple dash v options increase the verbosity. The max is 3. So if you do SSH and you do verbose, if you want more verbose, you add another v per the man page. If you want another, even more information, you add another v. So most commands have a verbose. And I guess the original question is, what is the use of it? It's for it's good for troubleshooting and it's good for debugging. You can think of it as debugging for all intents and purposes. I call it debugging, but verbose just means more information. Some commands it's either no information or some, like the remove. With SSH, you can do a little bit more debugging, more debugging, more debugging. Again, just depends on what you need. Okay, let's see. What time is it? Whoa, man. Time flies. Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to jump straight into I'll do a little quick Vim crash course because I actually have some videos that I'm writing to come out. But a couple of things. So Vim file opens the file. If you want to do multiple files, you just put one after the other. And it opens the first file that you specified. If you want to view all the files that you opened, you do args, and this is the active file that you see, and this was the other one we put in the command line. So you would do next to go to the next file. I hit U to undo. Previous to go to the previous file. That's pretty simple. But if we vim all the files in this directory, which is about 20, we do args. So we have all these files open, and we're here, and we just do next. So we do next, 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 and then previous, previous, same thing. Then if you want to jump 4 files forward, you put a 4, and then you do next. And that jumps you next. That jumps you ahead 4 pages. Same thing with previous. Okay. Now, if you do a -O, that's too many files. We'll just do 3. So if you do a -O, it opens every file with a horizontal split, and Control W moves your cursor. If you want to close all the windows at once, you do quit all. Then uppercase O opens all the files as a vertical split. And then same thing, Control W moves your cursor. QA is quit all. And there's actually an option for tabs. P, okay. Yeah. So now if you put a -P, I don't know why it's P, but it creates these tabs at the top. So what it did was it creates a tab for each file, and then each tab only has one window. And to move tabs, you do GT. Another thing with Vim too is the assumption with Vim is whatever file you work on, you're going to save it before you move on. So if you make a change, and this means it's modified, if we try to save it, no, I'm sorry. If we try to go back to the previous file, it gives us a warning. So we either have to remove our changes or force the move. So you either have to save the changes or discard them. And there's a few ways to do that. So you can do previous bang. So this says Any changes that are not saved, just discard them. So it does that. Or you can keep hitting the lowercase u to undo your changes until that plus sign at the bottom goes away. Buffer is good, unchanged. Now we can go back. Does anybody have any Vim questions out there? Any quick Vim questions? I prefer Nano, it's more user friendly. A lot of people do. Yeah, I'm not one to force people to use a certain, it's whatever works for you. So yeah, I've used Nano. If it works, it works. Absolutely. There's also Pico. Have you ever heard of Pico? It looks just like Nano. I think the names are kind of funny. Oh man, I just realized my camera, I hope my camera wasn't in the way. Okay, for Nano is more user friendly. That's as far as I'm going to go with Vim right now. So a couple of things too. Oh, in case y'all didn't know, side note, the creator of Vim passed away a few weeks ago, actually. So through the command at the bottom left, command line, you can type help, and it opens a window, as you see right here. And then now you have access to the help. And I'm still teaching myself how to use this, but it is pretty cool, to say the least. So these things that are highlighted, they're called tags. Let's see. Yeah, so they call them tags right there. And what you do is you put your cursor over it, and then you hit Control close bracket, and it takes you to the tag. If you want to go back, you do Control O, and this goes over everything. There is a lot of good information here, but a good use case for the help page is, say you're editing a file and you want to quit. Now if you notice here at the bottom, there's actually an error code, echo 37. And it does a good job of telling you what you need to do. You can override it with a bang. But if you do help error code, it actually takes you to the tag of said error code and gives you information about it. And if you do help :Q, which is the command that we use to quit, it takes you to that tag. So it gives you information. And as you notice right here, Q is actually short for quit. Saves you some good typing there. And another good way to use help is there's this construct in Vim called registers. So if you type register and then you hit Control D, it actually does a search. And it'll display every tag, like with the error code took you to a tag. The help will tell you, if you hit Control D, every tag that matches that string. So another good way is with buffer, Control D. Got a lot of results there. Tab. So you got a lot of information on tabs. A good one is tab edit. So if we go to tab edit, that shows you how to open a new tab, which is what the -P did when we first launched Vim. And if you notice here, it tells you what page it's at. So if we ever lose VIM or quit VIM, go back into it, we can go straight to the page. Here you have all the information you need on working with multiple tabs. So, like the man page, learning how to read the VIM help page is worth its weight in gold, however much that weighs. It is very valuable. It's like learning how to fish. Okay, let's see. That's pretty much going to sum it up for now. For those of y'all who joined me and who stuck around, I mean, I really appreciate it. This is my second live stream. So as you can see, I'm just kind of winging it. But again, I appreciate you guys showing up. Welcome to my channel. I highly recommend if you want to learn more about Linux and how to be a Linux system administrator, how to be a power user, subscribe to my channel. I work really hard to try to share with you the best information that I can on how to do things as efficiently and as effectively as I can. So if you want to support the channel, please subscribe. And I'd love to hear your comments in future videos, previous videos. Again, please leave comments. I do read them. I do take them very seriously. And whatever I can do to make better videos for you guys, please comment. Comment, comment, comment. I love the engagement. I love the feedback, good or bad. Yeah. So I'm going to end on that. Unless anybody has anything else to say. Thanks again, guys. This is